Hey, what's up, y'all? Today seems like a great day. No, remember, today is a great day to dive in. So let's do that. Let me ask you a question. How many times last year did you decide to take the easy way instead of the hard way? I mean, why not? If you didn't decide to do them. I mean, it's a new year, right? And the only way to make this year your best year is to look at how you grew to the person that you are today or the person that you're striving to be. A lot of people usually start their year off with resolutions. I'm gonna go to the gym more often. I'm gonna be a better person. Continue to go. I'm gonna read my Bible because it's a whole new year. You have a choice to do things different. Not realizing that every day you make a choice. Every day that you get up, you make the choice to do something right or do something wrong. So you don't have to wait for the new year to start. You can start today. You can start right now. And the crazy part is, statistically speaking, only about 9% of people complete their New Year's resolutions. I know, it's a surprise. Not really for ourselves at the end of the year or the beginning of the year or the middle of the year. Whenever you have a moment that isn't going the way that you want it to go, a lot of us spend a lot of times feeling bad for ourselves, or with this, I wish I could have, or if time would have allowed, or it's just not happening right now. We find all these different things, or we're stuck feeling sorry for ourselves, sometimes blaming others and not take responsibility for where we are in our life and how we could do better, because God gives us free range to make our own choices. It's freedom of choice. Yes, he would love for us to follow his lead. Yes, he would love for us to do the things that we know that we need to do to be close to him, which would make us better people, all in all. But of course, we find ways not to be consistent, and we stay that way. Allowing a couple of bad moments to ruin our days, our weeks, our month, or our year. So every year we don't have to go into it with the same new year, new me. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, when we can start today. We can start any day out of the 365, wake up and decide to make a decision to do better with our lives. We don't know how to let things go in this life that we live. And it's a lot of us in this world. I'm sorry. Not y'all, just me. But honestly, if we would just grow up, the way that we address our mornings, our days, our families, our friends would be so much different. And honestly, it would be so much better, because who is a better role model than him? Who can show us a better way than him? Just him. As I was reading Exodus 13, starting at verse 17, when it talks about God splitting the sea due to the Egyptians following behind the Philistines, because the Egyptians just couldn't let them go, and they ended up dying. Let's read, shall we? So I'm gonna do a little skipping around though, because it's kind of all over the place. So starting at 13, verse 17, it's when they get ready to cross the sea. It says, when Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them on the road through the Philistine country, though that was shorter. For God said, if they face war, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. So God led the people around by the desert road toward the Red Sea. The Israelites went up out of Egypt ready for battle. So let's stop there. Crazy enough, God knows that we have a problem with moving forward. He knows that we struggle with choices that we made and be ready to turn back and go back to what's familiar. Isn't that crazy? In the Bible, years and since the beginning of time, God knew that we hard-headed. God knew that we be stuck in our own ways, and we like to take the easy way out, period. We like to go with what's comfortable. We like to live in what works and what's been working, even though it can bring us harm. He knew that they would have wanted to go back, even though they were harming them, even though they were slaves, even though they were being treated like dirt. He knew that if times got hard on the journey, that they would want to go back to that, because at least that's what they were used to. This is the devil we know, so why not go back? And the fact that that's in the Bible and it says that, it should tell us a lot about ourselves. A lot of the times we take the easy way because it's the easy way. We take the shorter route. We rather come back. And it just is what it is. We don't like hard work. We don't like taking the harder way. We don't like doing things that we know we need to do, because we're used to what we've been doing. But how is that working out for you? I'm just asking. Okay, so we finally reached the point where the Egyptians are closing in on the Israelites, even though God, throughout this time, so starting at 13, 17, starting at 14, before you reach 14, verse 21, this saying that, God confused the Egyptians. He made it to where they were always opposite of each other, to where they were never really close in contact. You had the Israelites crying out, you brought us all this way to leave us. We could have just stayed where we've been. Again, want to go back to what they used to, what God had already foreseen, right? So Moses is basically telling them, like, God is a fighter. He got this. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. How many times have God told us that? How many times has God corrected us? And we've been so hard-headed that we don't want to listen. So even still, with them doing all of this, God is still being God and making sure to get them to safety. So starting at 21, it says, Exodus 14:21 to be exact. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and all that night the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind and turned it into dry land. The waters were divided, and the Israelites went through the sea on dry land, with the wall of water on their right and on their left. The Egyptians pursued them, and all Pharaoh's horses and chariots and horsemen followed them into the sea. During the late watch of the night, the Lord looked down from the pillar of fire and cloud at the Egyptian army and threw it into confusion. He jammed the wheels of their chariots so that they had difficulty driving. And the Egyptians said, "Let's get away from the Israelite. The Lord is fighting for them against Egypt." But he had already been fighting. I had to pause and say that because your heart was just hard and you didn't want to pay attention to it until it put you in danger. And now you want to run. Please. Okay, starting at 26, it says, Then the Lord said to Moses, Stretch out your hand over the sea so that the waters may flow back over the Egyptians and their chariots and horse. Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and at daybreak the sea went back to its place. The Egyptians were fleeing toward it, and the water swept them into the sea. The water flowed back and covered the chariots and horsemen. The entire army of Pharaoh that had followed the Israelites into the sea, not one of them survived. But the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground, with a wall of water on their right and on their left. Let's just talk about it. Dry land, not muddy land, not semi-wet land, dry land. Baby, if God ain't, what? Come on, man. And it says, that day the Lord saved Israel from the hands of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians lying dead on the shore. And when the Israelites saw the mighty hand of the Lord displayed against the Egyptians, the people feared the Lord and put their trust in him and Moses, his servant. But only for a little bit, though. Read your Bible. Read your Bible. It's one of those things. I can show you some 1,000 times. Are you going to take me at face value, or are you going to keep going backwards? Are you going to listen to what I'm saying, or are you going to keep going backwards? How often do we make our life or situations we are in worse because we can't just let things go? How often do we consider taking the shortcut or even going back to where we came from? Because even though it was bad, it's what we used to. God took them the long way on purpose, y'all. On purpose, because he knew them. He knew his people and how this journey doing the hard thing would make them want to go back to what was worse just because it was convenient. It was easier. They already knew what they were getting. I can keep the lifestyle I had. If it's going to be what I'm used to, I can keep it because I know this. Most times we struggle because of us. Nobody else, just us. It's either we believe God for who he say he is, or we don't. We either believe what he said about us or we don't. But make up your mind sooner rather than later, because baby, your life literally depends on it. I know I came back swinging, and I will say sorry, but I wouldn't mean it. 2025 is the start of doing the hard thing that God told you to do, even if you're scared, even if you don't know how to start, even if you have no help. Do it. And let him be the dad he is, and let him guide you. I mean, honestly, when has he ever steered you wrong? Don't worry, I'll wait. I love y'all. Be back.